Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Welcome to From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers. A podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career, and hosted by Work Defined. Join our AI co-hosts as they dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Let's get your career started.
A TikTok resume. Bold move. But also kind of genius. Today we're diving headfirst into a question that's not just bubbling up, but is truly reshaping the modern job market. Our video resumes a genius innovation, a powerful differentiator that can truly elevate your candidacy, or are they just another passing gimmick, more flash than substance? It's a high-stakes question when you're trying to land your next big role, and the answers, well, they're far more nuanced than you might expect.
It truly is a pivotal question, yeah. And one that many job seekers and hiring managers alike are grappling with right now. For this deep dive, we've gathered a pretty comprehensive stack of sources. We've got invaluable insights from seasoned HR experts and career coaches who are, right there on the front lines of talent acquisition. And alongside that, we have the rigorous, really eye-opening findings of academic field experiments data that actually puts these ideas to the test. Our mission today is to extract the most important nuggets from all this rich material, weigh the undeniable pros against the serious, often hidden cons, and arm you, our listener, with truly actionable knowledge. Our goal is for you to walk away from this conversation not just informed, but well informed on this rapidly evolving hiring practice, complete with some surprising facts and practical guidance to navigate this dynamic landscape.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we even get to the video itself, let's maybe set the scene a bit. Why are we even talking about video resumes in the first place? What's going on in the modern job application world that's pushing this trend, into the spotlight?
Well, at its core, the driving force is intense competition. The job market is absolutely fierce. Traditional methods, they just aren't cutting it for everyone anymore. Consider this. Studies show that an average job opening today gets roughly, 250 applications? That's for an average role. For those highly sought-after positions at, the really attractive companies, that number can easily soar into the thousands. Just imagine being a hiring manager with one job post and your inbox is just flooded with hundreds, maybe even thousands of documents that all kind of look the same. It's almost an insurmountable task to sift through all that.
Wow, 250 as an average. That's an incredible volume. It almost makes the traditional paper resume feel like, shouting into a hurricane or something. So if you're one of those 250 or maybe even one of 2,500 applicants, your traditional paper resume, no matter how perfectly polished it is, might just get completely lost in that overwhelming shuffle. Just another piece of paper and a huge stack.
Precisely, yeah. And that's really where technology has stepped in as a perceived and often, a real solution. We've seen this general accelerating trend of tech taking center stage in job hunting for years now, constantly looking for ways to help candidates stand out. Think about it. We've moved from basic word processor resumes to sophisticated online resume builders that help you craft these attention-grabbing documents with really intricate layouts. We've seen the rise of infographic resumes, using charts, graphs, visual elements to highlight skills in a visually compelling, eye-catching way. The underlying goal is always the same. How do you differentiate your application in this sea of sameness?
And video applications seem like the latest and maybe one of the most significant parts of this technological shift. I remember when TikTok, of all platforms, launched its TikTok Resumes pilot program back in, 2021. And this wasn't just some niche experimental thing. It was directly spurred by a major survey that found video chat proficiency was the single most in-demand job skill coming out of the pandemic. And what really signaled the shift, for me anyway, was seeing huge companies like Chipotle and Target partnering directly with TikTok on that venture. It wasn't just some quirky idea from a social media app. It was something major corporate players were willing to seriously explore. That felt like a potential paradigm shift.
Absolutely. The pandemic, as we all know, dramatically accelerated the adoption of video communication across, well, pretty much all sectors, including professional ones. So it made perfect sense that employers started looking for ways to leverage the dynamic nature of video to get a more holistic, more immediate view of candidates, especially given how rapidly we all adapted to communicating visually. It's really an attempt to bridge that gap between a static document and the living, breathing person behind it.
Okay, so we've got this intense competition, this struggle to stand out, and this widespread adoption of new tech. So what's the big appeal then? What do video resumes actually promise to deliver that a traditional text-based resume just can't? What's the secret sauce here?
Well, the primary allure, and it's a powerful one, is the ability to showcase personality and those crucial soft skills. You know, the ones that are so often overlooked or just really difficult to convey in a flat document. A traditional resume, by its very nature, it's objective, right? It lists facts, figures, dates, experiences. It tells you what someone did. But a video resume goes way beyond that. It provides what experts call more room for expression. It lets you show who you are and how you do things. It's kind of the difference between reading a character description in a book and seeing an actor actually bring them to life on screen.
Yeah, I can totally see that. You're not just reading words on a page and trying to infer things. You're actually seeing a person, hearing their voice, sensing their energy. So what specific soft skills can someone really demonstrate through a video that, a static piece of paper just misses?
Oh, a great deal, actually. And many of them are profoundly valuable in today's workplaces, especially collaborative ones. A video can immediately convey your communication skills. Are you articulate? Do you speak clearly, confidently? It can highlight your creativity and how you choose to present yourself and your story, your demeanor, your overall personality, certainly your charisma and confidence. Those are all instantly visible. And crucially, it also inherently demonstrates how conversant you are with emerging technologies. Just the act of creating and submitting a quality video signals a certain level of digital fluency, which, as we mentioned, is a highly sought-after skill in itself these days.
That makes so much sense, especially for certain roles where those traits are absolutely non-negotiable. I'm thinking things like sales, marketing, media, public speaking, any kind of customer-facing position, or even leadership roles. These are jobs that inherently rely on strong interpersonal skills, persuasive communication, a compelling presence, qualities that are nearly impossible to capture in just bullet points or a dry summary.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the specific role anymore either. In today's corporate landscape, you see more and more organizations placing a really significant emphasis on corporate culture. Companies want to ensure a good culture fit, maybe even before the interview stage, right? To save time and ensure team cohesion down the line. So a video becomes this invaluable tool to, quote, show your potential culture fit. It gives recruiters a genuine glimpse of your personality and what it might actually be like to work with you day to day. It's really about building that human connection much earlier in the whole process.
Okay, so beyond just showcasing personality, there's also the sheer undeniable power of just grabbing attention, isn't there? How exactly does a video resume help you cut through that incredible noise we talked about earlier, that flood of applications?
Well, it tackles that challenge head on. The challenge of standing out in what really is a sea of written CVs. In a stack of hundreds, maybe thousands of similar-looking documents, a polished digital resume can undeniably grab attention and leave a lasting impression. It's simply a different, more engaging medium. Think about your own habits online. Are you more likely to remember a really captivating video or just a dense block of text you skimmed?
Yeah, it's definitely much more interesting to watch a video than to read a document, let's be honest, about, human nature. So does that mean recruiters actually spend more time with a video, given their notoriously short attention spans?
According to the experts, yes, quite significantly more time. While a recruiter might only scan a traditional resume for, a mere 6 seconds maybe? Just to decide if they'll even keep reading. Literally just long enough to skim the top half of the first page sometimes. They might spend significantly more time engaged with a video. We're talking potentially 30 seconds at least, maybe even the entire minute or minute and a half if it's really engaging. That's a huge, huge increase in precious attention time. Imagine getting 30 seconds of a recruiter's focused attention versus 6. It's a potential game changer for just getting your foot in the door.
And it feels like this format would naturally appeal to a younger demographic too, right? Especially Gen Z, who basically grew up creating and consuming video content on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. For them, it's probably not some new daunting task. It might even be a much more natural format than, say, meticulously crafting a formal text-based document.
Indeed. Yeah, it aligns perfectly with their digital fluency and their comfort level with visual storytelling. Beyond that, there's also the fascinating potential for efficiency and even maybe somewhat counterintuitively, inclusivity. From the job seeker's perspective, a well-crafted video could potentially speed up the application process. If you create a kind of master video that highlights your core skills and personality, you might be able to minimally edit it for different roles. Maybe just adding a quick voiceover to mention a specific company name or using text overlays for job titles rather than having to refilm an entirely new one for every single application.
Right. That would be a massive time saver for someone applying to multiple similar positions. Hours of customization time saved. And you mentioned inclusivity as well, which, like I said, seems almost counterintuitive for a visual medium that reveals so much about a person. How does that work?
It's a nuanced point, but it's compelling. One expert suggested that video resumes could also be a wonderful way to build an inclusive environment and diverse workforce. The argument here is that by providing more context and a fuller picture of a candidate early on, their personality, their communication style, their genuine enthusiasm, it might, in some cases, help bridge gaps that a dry, fact-based resume might otherwise leave open. It kind of encourages a broader range of applicants to present their authentic selves, perhaps revealing strengths that aren't easily captured in those traditional bullet points. The intent, at least, is to offer a richer, more human introduction that moves beyond just the cold metrics, potentially opening doors for candidates who might otherwise be overlooked based on text alone.
Okay, that's certainly the promise, and it paints a pretty compelling picture. But, as they say, every coin has two sides and often a shadow side. If there's so much potential here for personality, efficiency, standing out, what's the downside? What are the big concerns and challenges that come with the video resumes that job seekers really need to be aware of?
All right, this is where we hit the most significant hurdle, and it's one that really cannot be overstated: bias and discrimination. Video resumes are, to put it bluntly, prime for bias. They are potentially a discrimination minefield. It's an area just fraught with potential legal and ethical complexities for employers.
A discrimination minefield. Wow, that sounds incredibly serious. Why is that the case? What makes them so susceptible to bias?
Well, it's because seeing and hearing a person right at the very initial application stage instantly reveals protected characteristics that traditional text-based resumes typically conceal, at least initially. We're talking about things like age, how old someone appears, gender, race, and skin color, any regional accents or even speech impediments or visible medical conditions and disabilities. These are all categories where discrimination is strictly prohibited by law, right? Laws designed to ensure fairness and equal opportunity in hiring.
So even if an employer isn't asking for this information, a video resume just puts it right out there, unavoidably, before any skills or qualifications have even been properly reviewed.
Exactly. Consider the specific legal context from California's Fair Employment and Housing Act, FESHA regulations, for example.
Well, yeah.
These regulations explicitly prohibit employers from asking for applicants' age, date of birth, or graduation dates. They even go further, prohibiting online applications that use drop-down menus with age-based cutoffs or algorithms specifically designed to screen out applicants who are 40 and older. Video resumes, even if they don't explicitly request this info, implicitly provide it just by showing the candidate on screen. There's really no way to unsee what's presented, is there?
So the big concern is that this may dangerously open that door again for discrimination, potentially undoing all the significant efforts that hiring managers and HR departments have made over decades to try and evaluate candidates based purely on skill fit, experience, qualifications, rather than appearance or demographic. It feels like taking a step backward in the pursuit of equitable hiring practices.
That's precisely the fear, and it's a very real one. A key issue here is the current lack of specific comprehensive laws regulating video resume content and how employers can actually use the information they get from them. This legal gray area creates a higher potential for perceived discrimination lawsuits.
Right.
If a candidate gets rejected after submitting a video resume, it's much easier for them to allege bias based on some visible characteristic, regardless of the employer's true intent or reason for rejection. It just makes the whole hiring process much riskier from a legal standpoint for companies.
Okay, beyond these really weighty legal and ethical concerns, there are also significant privacy issues, right? Especially with platforms like TikTok, where these videos might actually be publicly accessible, seen by potentially millions of strangers.
Absolutely. The public nature of some video resume platforms, especially general social media sites, presents a big question mark around significant privacy concerns. Unlike a privately sent traditional resume, A public video could expose you to risks like identity theft, doxing, or even stalking, depending on how much personal information is implicitly or explicitly shared in that video. It's a very different level of exposure compared to just an email attachment sent directly to a specific recruiter. Our sources specifically advise listeners, not to put last names, full contact numbers, or other highly identifying personal information on publicly posted video resumes. It's a crucial precaution.
Okay, so privacy and bias are huge, inherent concerns, definitely. But what about the more practical, maybe logistical hurdles? Because it surely can't be as simple as just hitting record on your phone and sending it off, can it?
Well, far from it. This is where many job seekers probably underestimate the commitment involved. First, there's a considerable time and skill investment. Creating a quality video resume is inherently time-consuming. It requires careful planning, writing a concise yet impactful script, setting up a suitable environment for filming, the actual filming itself, which might take multiple takes, and then the often complex process of editing. Not everyone has these technical skills, or the creative skills, or frankly, even feels comfortable performing on camera. And this can, in itself, be a form of unintentional discrimination against, say, introverts or those less technically inclined, putting them at a disadvantage through no fault of their actual professional abilities.
Right. So someone who's maybe a brilliant data scientist or an incredibly meticulous editor but just hates being on camera, or simply doesn't own sophisticated video equipment or software, might be at a disadvantage, not because of their core job skills, but purely because of the chosen medium.
Precisely. And that leads directly to the next critical point. Quality is absolutely paramount. A poor video can overshadow an amazing career. If it looks tacky or childish, if the lighting is bad, the sound is muffled, the editing is amateurish, it can severely hurt your chances. This implies a very high bar for production quality. It's not just about the content of your message anymore, but the professional presentation of that message. A low-quality video can easily make an otherwise exceptional candidate appear unprofessional or, unprepared.
That's a huge barrier for entry for many people. And then there's the technical elephant in the room that every job seeker kind of dreads. Applicant tracking systems, or ATS.
Ah, yes. ATS incompatibility. That's a critical technical barrier, and one that often gets overlooked in all the hype around video resumes. Most applicant tracking systems, that's the automated software companies use to scan and filter resumes for keywords and qualifications, simply cannot parse video content. They just can't read it. This means a video-only application will almost certainly fall into a recruitment black hole. It won't be read, it won't be ranked, and it likely won't even reach a human recruiter at all. This necessitates the continued, absolutely indispensable use of traditional text-based resumes that can be optimized with keywords to get past that automated screening software.
So you literally cannot just send a video and expect it to work instead of a traditional resume. That immediately means more work for the job seeker, doesn't it? Who now has to produce both effectively.
Indeed. And it also makes tailoring much more difficult. Unlike traditional resumes, they can be pretty easily customized for each job by, tweaking bullet points, reordering sections, swapping out keywords. Shooting a fresh, perfectly tailored video for every single application is basically impossible, or certainly a big ask for most people. While some proponents suggest minimal edits like voiceovers or text overlays might work, it's still far less flexible and much more time-consuming than just editing a text document.
And, okay, from the recruiter side, are they even really on board with this? Do they actually have the time or the willingness to watch all these videos, especially right at the beginning, when we know they traditionally scan resumes for just a few seconds?
You're absolutely right to question that. There's still a significant preference among many executives for traditional resumes. According to a 2016 survey, it's a bit dated, but still indicative, a staggering 8 out of 10 executives still preferred traditional resumes, with only a tiny 3% saying they preferred video. Recruiters do typically scan resumes in 5-10 seconds. While some sources suggest a video could potentially speed up the process for them because it's maybe much more interesting to watch a video than to read a document, leading to a better feel for the candidate much more quickly. The initial hurdle remains. Many may not have the time or the inclination to watch a video at that very first stage, particularly if they're already drowning in traditional applications. It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, isn't it? If they're not expecting it or set up for it, they might not even click the link.
This all really boils down to a truly complex landscape, doesn't it? Lots of moving parts, weighing significant potential advantages against equally significant hurdles and risks. But we do have some hard numbers, don't we? What does the empirical evidence actually say about video resumes and job search outcomes when you put them to a rigorous scientific test?
We do, yes. And this is where things get really, really eye-opening. There was a groundbreaking field experiment conducted by Serrano in Quebec, Canada, between 2016 and 2019. This provides some of the most crucial empirical data we have on this topic. And this wasn't just a survey or anecdotal evidence. It was a real-world test designed specifically to measure the impact.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, so what was the setup for this experiment? How did they actually put video resumes to the test in the real world?
Well, the researchers constructed a really robust experiment. They sent out a massive number of applications, 2,021 applications for secretary receptionist positions across Quebec. A significant subset of these applications included a link inviting the firms to view a video resume. Critically, these videos featured a professional actress. And a really fascinating design element was that some of the videos were specifically designed to disclose a wheelchair disability. This allowed the researchers to actually study the impact on disabled applicants compared to non-disabled ones. The experiment then meticulously measured callback rates, basically, how often an applicant was invited for an interview, and also tracked viewing activity. This allowed them to see not just if firms watched the videos, but how they watched them and how far into the video they actually progressed.
Right. Okay. So what was the headline finding? Did the video resumes actually help people get callbacks? Was it a clear advantage?
They did, quite significantly, actually, in terms of overall callback rates. The primary headline finding was that video resumes increased callback rates by more than 10 percentage points on average. This is a statistically substantial increase. It indicates a clear, tangible advantage for job seekers who use them effectively in this context.
Okay, give us the specific numbers on that. How much of an increase are we really talking about here?
Sure. For the non-disabled applicants, the callback rates increased from 45% when no video was included in their application, up to an impressive 55.3% when a video link was included. That's a 22.8% relative increase in their callback likelihood. And for the disabled applicants, the effect was even more pronounced. Their callback rates increased from 19.9% without a video to 27.4% with one. That's a huge 37.7% relative increase. So based on these numbers, the study unequivocally concluded that video resumes are a low-cost and easily replicable tool that can increase significantly the callback rates of unemployed individuals. They make a real difference in the job search.
Wow, that's fantastic news for job seekers across the board. It really sounds like a real tangible advantage. But you also mentioned the complexities of discrimination in the outline earlier. What did the experiment find there, especially given that they specifically included disabled applicants in the study?
Yeah, this is where the picture becomes much more nuanced and, frankly, quite sobering. Despite the clear benefits in increasing overall callback rates for everyone, the study found that disabled applicants were still significantly discriminated against in the broader hiring process. Even with the boost they got from the video, they were much less likely to be convened to a formal interview compared to their non-disabled counterparts. In fact, the callback rates for non-disabled applicants were at least twice as high as those for disabled applicants throughout the entire study.
So even with the video giving them a boost, helping them get more attention, the underlying discrimination against disabled individuals just persisted. And quite starkly, did the study look into why that might be? Was it maybe about workplace accessibility concerns or something deeper going on?
They did look into that. And crucially, this discrimination persisted even in firms that were verified beforehand as being wheelchair accessible. So that indicates that accessibility issues themselves were not the primary driver of this callback gap. The researchers also tried to test a really interesting hypothesis. Would late revelation of a disability in the video, meaning the disability only became visible later in the video, after the viewer had more time to appreciate the candidate's qualifications, would that mitigate the discrimination? Unfortunately, the findings showed no significant effect on reducing those discriminatory attitudes. It seems that once the disability was revealed, the bias sadly remained, regardless of how much positive information came before it.
That's a truly stark and, disheartening finding. It really seems like video resumes are a genuine double-edged sword. They get you seen. They can certainly boost your chances of getting a callback, but they also expose you to biases that might otherwise remain hidden at that initial text-based application stage. What did the detailed viewing activity data show about this phenomenon? You mentioned this is where the nuances really come out.
This is indeed where data provides probably the most direct evidence of discrimination in action. For the able-bodied applicants, the viewing data lined up with what you'd positively expect. Callback rates were positively correlated with viewing time, meaning the longer firms watched the video, the higher their interest seemed to be, and the more likely they were to call that person back for an interview. That makes sense, right? Engagement leads to positive outcomes.
But for the disabled applicants, the study found the exact opposite. Is that right?
Yes, precisely the opposite. And it was described as a striking feature of the study's findings. There was a significant drop in callback rates for firms that viewed what the researchers called the revelation zone, that specific segment of the video where the disability was disclosed. This provides more direct evidence of discrimination, as the very act of viewing the disability seemed to trigger a negative response, even if the firm had initially been engaged by the earlier parts of the video. They also noted the average number of pauses and scrolls within this revelation zone was slightly higher for videos revealing a disability, suggesting maybe a moment of conscious or unconscious processing, perhaps hesitation, when that information was encountered. It just highlights that inherent tension. Video allows for a fuller, more authentic presentation, but that very authenticity comes with the risk of exposing you to existing societal biases.
Wow, that truly brings home the complexity. But, okay, on a slightly more positive note, setting aside the deeply troubling aspects of discrimination for a moment, did the recruiters offer any qualitative feedback, like on the videos themselves, the format, the novelty?
They did, yeah. Though it was limited to anecdotal evidence from about 19 firms, the qualitative comments from recruiters were generally quite positive regarding the concept and the execution of video resumes as a tool. Firms were often impressed by the originality, the effectiveness of the presentation, the professionalism of the production — remember, these were professionally made — and the sheer novelty of receiving a video application. Some even noted that they were charmed by them or found them very refreshing compared to the endless stream of traditional resumes they usually see. So the format itself seemed to be well received, seen as a fresh approach, even if the viewing behavior for disabled applicants still revealed those persistent underlying biases we just discussed.
Okay, this all boils down to a really critical question for our listeners then. Given everything we've unpacked, the promises, the pitfalls, the surprising empirical evidence, when and how should you strategically deploy a video resume? How do you maximize its benefits and minimize its risks? Let's start with when it's genuinely a smart move to use one.
Okay, first and foremost, if the job posting explicitly requests or strongly encourages video submissions, then yeah, it's almost always a smart move to provide one. You don't want to miss an opportunity by sticking only to traditional methods when the employer has clearly signaled they're open to, or maybe even prefer, something new. Ignoring that could even be seen as not following directions.
Right. And for certain types of roles, it seems like almost a no-brainer, where the medium itself kind of becomes part of the message, doesn't it?
Absolutely. For roles where personality, presentation, and strong communication skills are not just a plus, but absolutely paramount to the job function itself, a video resume can be incredibly effective. Think marketing, where creativity and persuasive communication are key. Sales, where your ability to connect and convey confidence is literally everything. Media, public relations, broadcast roles where your on-camera presence is directly relevant. Teaching or hospitality, where your demeanor and interpersonal skills are crucial. Or any kind of public speaking position. These are all roles where demonstrating those soft skills right from the outset is a huge tangible advantage that a paper resume simply cannot provide.
So it's not just about what's on your resume, but how you present it and how you carry yourself. What if someone has a more unique or unconventional career path? Or maybe a limited traditional resume?
Yeah, it's also an excellent tool for explaining an unconventional story, like career changers who are pivoting industries, or maybe new graduates entering the workforce without extensive professional experience on paper. A video allows you to convey passion, explain those transitions clearly, and highlight soft skills and transferable abilities that text just can't capture effectively. It gives context and depth to your narrative that might be really difficult to articulate well in just a 2-page document. It can also be very useful for, say, cold outreach or networking follow-ups. An unlisted link can help contacts remember you much more vividly and distinctly after an initial conversation or connection. Makes you stand out.
And what about the company culture? Does that play a role in whether a video resume might be well received or not?
Definitely. If you're applying to companies with an explicitly innovative or forward-thinking culture, startups, creative agencies, modern tech firms, any organization that prides itself on being cutting edge, They are often much more receptive and even appreciative of personal touches and creative approaches like a video resume. It shows you're kind of aligned with their progressive approach and willing to embrace new methods. The crucial caveat here, though, and it's a big one, is that you only go for it if you can execute decent quality. That means clear audio, steady framing, professional appearance, and keeping it concise, ideally under 2 minutes. A poor, unprofessional video will, unfortunately, probably do more harm than good. It could signal a lack of attention to detail or technical proficiency, which isn't the message you want to send.
That's such a critical point. Quality over everything. Don't send a shaky, dimly lit video with terrible sound. So conversely, when is it maybe just optional, or when is it genuinely best to just stick to a traditional resume and avoid the video altogether?
Well, you should probably stick to traditional methods, or at least treat video as strictly optional for those ultra-formal industries, like big law firms, certain highly traditional government roles, specific finance sectors, or maybe traditional healthcare settings. These industries tend to be highly risk-averse, they value established norms, and paper-based or PDF-based processes still largely rule. A video might be seen as unprofessional, too informal, or simply not compatible with their entrenched, often very rigid screening methods. It could actually work against you in those contexts, making you seem out of touch with their specific corporate culture.
And the ATS issue we talked about, of course, is a big one here, too. If the system can't even process it, it's basically a non-starter, right?
Precisely. When you're dealing with those rigid ATS portals that have absolutely no mechanism to accept video links, sending a video is just going to be a wasted effort. Or worse, it might make your application seem incomplete. It simply won't be seen by the automated system, and therefore likely won't even reach a human reviewer. Also, for highly technical or research-focused positions, jobs that are primarily judged on specific publications, certifications, academic achievements, or very precise hard skills, a video resume might not add that much value. It's often easier and more convenient for employers in those fields to quickly review your qualifications on paper or through a portfolio of your work. The visual element is just less relevant to the core assessment there.
Okay, what if you've already had a lot of direct interaction or FaceTime with the hiring team? Does a video add anything useful then?
Good question. If you've already had extensive FaceTime with the hiring team, maybe through informational interviews, networking events, or previous stages of the application process, a video resume might just be redundant. They've already seen your personality, your communication skills, your demeanor in action. And importantly, this is a moment for some honest self-assessment. If you are genuinely not comfortable on camera, if you tend to clam up or become visibly nervous, it's absolutely best to avoid it. A poor presentation where you appear awkward or unconfident can do much more harm than good. It creates a negative first impression that's incredibly hard to shake later on. Better to showcase your strengths through other means.
Makes sense. And for those who are concerned about privacy, which we flagged as a major shadow site earlier.
Yeah, if you genuinely prefer to remain private, and you want to avoid putting personal details, including your appearance and voice, online in a potentially public or semi-public forum, then a video resume might just not be the right choice for you. Even unlisted videos still exist on the internet, right? And while they aren't searchable, there's always a theoretical chance for wider distribution than you anticipated if the link falls into the wrong hands. And of course, the golden rule always remains. If the employer only asks for a standard resume, then that's precisely what you should provide. Don't try to force a video where it's not requested, not appropriate, or potentially actively unwelcome. Just respect the employer's stated preferences.
Are you looking for a podcast that talks about humanity as well as human resources? Listen to the Reciprocity with AG podcast, where leaders in workforce and human resources talk more about themselves, how they reciprocate to others, and how they have received unbelievable advice for some of their mentors and people they've worked with.
Okay, so assuming it is a smart move for your specific situation and your target role, what are the absolute best practices for actually creating one and, crucially, distributing it effectively so that recruiters actually watch it and it helps your application instead of hindering it?
Right. The single most effective strategy, according to most experts, is a hybrid approach. You should always accompany, never replace, the traditional resume with a video link. Always send both. This ensures ATS compatibility, allowing your keywords and qualifications to be screened by the automated systems, while simultaneously leveraging the video's benefits to showcase your personality and communication skills to the human reviewer once it gets past the ATS. It really is the best of both worlds. It covers all your bases.
Okay, hybrid approach. Got it. How long should these videos be? I've seen some that feel like mini movies and others that are just a quick, 30-second snippet. What's the sweet spot for a busy recruiter?
Keep it incredibly concise. That's key. Typically 60 to 120 seconds is the target range, but ideally you should aim for under 90 seconds. Recruiters are busy. Their time is precious. You need to communicate your value proposition quickly and efficiently to capture and hold their attention. And to make sure you use that limited time really wisely, scripting is absolutely crucial. You should write a script, but don't sound rehearsed. That's the tricky part. Use bullet points as your guide, outline your key messages, and then practice until it sounds completely natural and conversational, as if you're speaking spontaneously, not just reading lines off a page.
Can you maybe give us a good, proven structure for that script? What should someone include to maximize impact in that short time frame, 90 seconds?
Certainly. Think of it as a compelling, personal elevator pitch on video. Start with a short introduction. Clearly state your name, the specific target role you're applying for, and maybe your general experience level. Immediately follow that by stating why you're applying for that specific role at that specific company. Make it clear you've done your research, you're passionate, and you're not just sending out a generic video blast. Next, include one or two key quantifiable accomplishments that directly align with the job you're targeting. Use numbers and results wherever possible to show impact. Optionally, if you have a really powerful, concise recommendation snippet or strong quote or endorsement from a previous employer or client, you can potentially include that as compelling third-party proof of your expertise. And finally, end with a clear call to action. Thank the viewer for their time, invite them explicitly to read your attached traditional resume for more detailed information, and provide your contact information clearly on screen, maybe as a text overlay at the end.
That's a great roadmap for the content itself. Now, what about the technical side? Beyond the script, what do you absolutely need to ensure for a truly quality production that won't detract from your message?
Right. Essential technical quality includes ensuring good lighting and sound. Those are paramount. A well-lit room, ideally with soft, natural light if possible, and clear audio completely free from background noise that makes a huge difference in professionalism. Maybe invest in a decent external microphone if your phone's built-in one isn't great. Also, choose a professional, non-distracting background. A plain wall, a neat bookshelf, or a tidy home office space are far better than, say, a cluttered living room or kitchen. Ensure you wear appropriate attire that matches the industry's culture you're applying to. If it's a corporate role, dress accordingly. If it's more creative, maybe slightly less formal is okay. And critically, don't expect perfection on the first try. Film multiple takes, review them critically, maybe get a friend's opinion and select the one where you look and sound your absolute best.
And presentation. Any specific tips there to make sure you come across well, engagingly, and authentically on camera?
Absolutely. Yeah. Look directly at the camera lens as if you're making eye contact and speaking directly to the hiring manager. This creates a vital sense of connection. Be enthusiastic. Convey your genuine passion for the role and the company. And remember to smile. You want to convey a positive, approachable, and engaging presence. While some subtle visual or special effects or maybe snapshots from your career, like a quick flash of a project you worked on or a chart showing results can potentially keep it engaging, be really cautious here. Avoid distractions like overly loud or cheesy background music or busy amateurish graphics that could actually detract from your core message. The content and your authentic presentation should always be king. Keep it clean and professional.
Okay, so once you've got this masterpiece of a 90-second video resume, where do you actually put it, and how do you share it effectively so that recruiters find it and, actually play it?
Good question. You should host it on a platform where playback is completely friction-free for the recruiter. That's vital. Upload it as unlisted on platforms like YouTube or Vimeo. Unlisted means it's not publicly searchable, but can be accessed by anyone who has the direct link. Many dedicated video resume maker tools also provide easy, direct share links. The main goal is no downloads required, no logins needed. Just click the link and play the video instantly. For sharing, the most effective strategy is usually to add a clearly labeled short URL link, something like video intro, u2.bjnux, or maybe my video introduction, link here, right under your contact info on your traditional PDF resume. Make it obvious. You should also hyperlink text in your emails and cover letters directly to the video. Don't just paste the URL, make the text clickable. And don't forget LinkedIn. Post a video there or add it prominently to your featured section on your profile, and you can share the link in direct messages to recruiters or hiring managers. For traditional print resumes, though they're less common now, a small tested QR code clearly labeled Scan for Video Resume can be a slick, tech-savvy touch. But always test that QR code first to make sure it works perfectly.
Okay, so after all this, what's the future outlook for video resumes? Are they truly here to stay, maybe becoming standard practice? Or are they still just an experiment that might fade away eventually?
I think it's highly likely they will become the new normal, or at least a very, very common component of the application process in the coming years. The widespread digitization of professional interactions, which was profoundly accelerated by the pandemic, meant that virtual interviewing has rapidly begun to replace the first stage of interview screening for many, many companies already. We're already seeing lots of companies asking candidates to record themselves answering preset questions as part of their initial screening process. That's effectively a mini video interview right there. This feels like a clear precursor to and a natural stepping stone for more widespread video resume adoption. It's a skill, being comfortable on video, that's already being implicitly tested by many employers.
What does that mean for recruiters then? And maybe even for future regulations, especially given those serious discrimination concerns we highlighted?
Well, it means recruiters will certainly need to be very careful about potential discrimination and adapt their screening processes significantly to account for all the visual and auditory information provided in video resumes. They'll need to implement rigorous training and maybe standardized evaluation criteria to try and mitigate bias as much as possible. We can also probably anticipate future regulations put in place over time, specifically for video resume content, as governments and legal bodies eventually catch up to the technology, much like we saw happen with online applications and AI screening tools over the last decade or so. And from a technology standpoint, expect applicant tracking systems, the ATS, to evolve significantly. Developers will definitely see a lot of money in that for developers to create advanced ATS systems that can automatically filter video resumes, perhaps using AI to analyze communication styles, sentiment, maybe other non-protected characteristics, much like they screen traditional ones today for keywords. This could eventually address one of the biggest current logistical hurdles for recruiters.
Yeah, that would certainly address one of the biggest practical hurdles for recruiters if the tech catches up. What about the broader policy and economic considerations? You mentioned the Serrano study touched on this. Could this actually be something worth, say, public investment?
Absolutely. The Serrano research suggested that public funding for video resume production, which they estimated cost around $300 per video in their experiment, could be surprisingly cost-effective from an economic standpoint. Their back-of-the-envelope calculation indicated it would pay for itself if video usage accelerates exits from unemployment by as little as 2 weeks, just 2 weeks faster back into employment. And that calculation doesn't even factor in the potential income taxes generated from those newly employed individuals, which would further increase the returns to any such public funding. So yeah, it could be seen as a pretty smart investment in getting people back to work faster.
That's actually a powerful argument for public investment, especially when we think about the broader societal benefits of reducing unemployment durations. And you mentioned it could significantly improve the quality of job matches too, particularly for certain populations like disabled individuals. How does that work?
Yes, that's another potentially profound implication. Particularly for disabled individuals, video resumes might help improve match quality right at the interview stage by effectively pre-screening firms that are genuinely willing and prepared to accommodate disabilities. By revealing the disability upfront in the video, it essentially filters out companies that might not be prepared or willing to make necessary accommodations later on. This could significantly reduce mobility costs and wasted time and emotional energy for disabled job seekers as they enter the interview process knowing the firm is already aware and likely accepting of their situation. This could thereby potentially improve their interview performance, maybe they feel more comfortable, and ultimately increase their chances of finding a truly suitable and supportive role.
This has been a truly enlightening deep dive, really peeling back the layers on a trend that's clearly here to stay in some form or another. Before we wrap up, what are some of the critical open questions that still remain for the future of video resumes? What don't we know yet?
Oh, there are several fascinating unknowns still out there. For instance, will widespread adoption of video resumes eventually reduce their novelty effect? Will they become less impactful over time as everyone starts doing them? Or, on the flip side, will non-users eventually be penalized if everyone else is successfully using them to get ahead? And more comprehensive research is definitely needed to assess the benefits and impacts for other demographic groups beyond those studied in that specific Quebec experiment.
We need to understand the effects for people with different types of disabilities beyond mobility issues, for various ethnicities, genders, and across a much wider range of occupations and industries. It's a vast, complex area for future exploration, and testing for all these differential effects across many groups can be logistically very challenging, but it's absolutely vital for understanding the full societal impact of this shift.
So, to kind of recap where we've landed, video resumes are undeniably a powerful tool for candidates looking to stand out. They allow you to showcase personality, those vital soft skills, and the evidence suggests they genuinely increase callback rates across the board, even for individuals with disabilities. However, and this is a really critical caveat, isn't it? They simultaneously act as a transparent lens that can expose candidates to existing societal biases and discrimination that traditional text-based resumes might otherwise conceal, particularly at that very initial application stage.
It's a really delicate and constantly evolving balance, isn't it? Between opportunity and risk, between efficiency and fairness.
Absolutely. And that leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to ponder. In an increasingly visual, digitally transparent, and highly competitive world, how do you personally balance that desire to present your most authentic self and truly stand out in a crowded job market with the inherent risks of revealing more personal information during the application process? What future innovations might further shift this delicate balance between exposure and opportunity? And how will you adapt your own strategy to ensure you're always putting your best foot forward, visually or otherwise?
This has been From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers, a podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career. Each episode, we dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Subscribe to this podcast for free now, so you don't miss an episode, and visit www.collegerecruiter.com to find your next great job.